There is a very, very strong mythology in Underworld, so I think it would be a mistake to go in and say, okay, we do everything different now. So the approach was to take all those things that I thought were exciting and then build on top.
Underworld 5 is really more of a throwback to the original, the set design, the costumes, everything. But we're also looking at this as being something fresh and new.
The decision to hire Anna Forrester was really the best decision we made on all of Underworld 5. She was a cinematographer. She had a visual effects background and a second unit background on big movies.
She really understands action, understands the camera and special effects. It's a rare combination.
And cut. Let's reset.
She's been able to breathe new life into the franchise in a way that I don't think anybody else would have been able to do it.
And 3, 2, 1, go!
Working with Anna really pushed us to elevate our game and bring the franchise up a notch.
Having James McQuaid on my side for this was amazing because obviously he has the whole history of Underworld with him.
There's roughly 650 visual effect shots in the picture. We have hundreds of Lycans transforming at the same time. We have a big battle sequence at the end with 50 Nordic vampires and 100 Lycans. So there's a scale to the effects here that is much higher than we had on any of the other 4 pictures.
What are you?
In the case of Marius, he had to look like the actor. He was a hybrid. He wasn't a full Lycan. So it was the first time we actually did a creature that actually looked like a human being.
We really want to feel the human or the Lycan behind it. And we started scanning Tobias Menzies, and it took quite a while, but I think we actually succeeded quite well with having this scary creature, but you can see Marius in him. We were definitely ambitious in terms of what we wanted to do with the amount of Lycans and the kind of visual effects we were looking for.
In Underworld 3, there's this sequence where there must be 100 Lycans that are charging across a plateau toward the fortress. But we see them sort of transform one at a time or 2 or 3 at a time. Here we have shots where there are 100 Lycans on screen going from human to creature. So the scale of the shot was much greater than we had ever done. So we used a piece of software called Agisoft. This is a way of taking a series of photographs on a turntable, and then this software sort of assembles it into a 3D representation of the actor. And that gave us enough information to have the geometry to do a transformation, you know, more or less accurately.
In this film, we've actually gone practical most of the way, which is exactly how we did the first Underworld. The trick is moving between the 2 worlds as much as possible.
Andres, who was the production designer, created a world for us that was really quite extraordinary.
Anna, from the beginning, had a very focused point of view about each set, and she was really focused on the story.
We pretty quickly figured out that we were on the same page, that we wanted to make a statement by going back to the roots of Underworld and go back into this Gothic world.
In the very first movie we shot in Budapest, and it was kind of steampunk looking, and then we ended up at one point in Vancouver, and it was much more modern. And now this movie has got kind of quite a medieval vibe to it.
The exterior of the vampire mansion, it's a castle about a 2-hour drive south of Prague called Luboka. Just being there, this crazy huge castle, shooting your movie is a real charge.
Luboka, it's actually Gothic castle, but it was rebuilt completely in 19th century. So actually, everything there works quite well for us in the style of the new Gothic. What was important for us was a combination between the old-fashioned details and the history of that place together with the modern technology.
60 seconds.
If the Eastern Coven is dark and structured in its architecture and in its clothing, we want it to be the opposite true for the Northern Coven. So there's a much more organic approach to the sets.
Nordic Coven is something more like a monastery, which is very spare and very simple. They went back to the roots and they went back to the very basic life. So it's stones, metal, everything is just functional. The work with the ice and with the frozen lake was very tricky because you are working with resin, which is not easy material to work with. You are looking for really clear materials. And the tricky thing is that you can do like one single mistake and everything is going into the yellow color. Moving ice and water and ice, that was kind of challenging because you couldn't be totally sure that you know how to make it precisely, and there's a little bit of alchemy in that. I never did in such a big scale, and we realized it's a tricky job because you never know what could happen with that material. I worked twice before with Bojana. Sometimes it was tricky because we had black and white costumes on black and white sets, but I think it does work at the end.
Of course, I saw the previous movies, and already there you could see that costume and set design, everything looks really, really good. So it was challenging from the beginning, but I never thought that we are going to make so many new costumes. And we made more than 80%.
We have medieval ice-based armor. We have opulent, decadent vampire ball gowns and everything in between. So we were extremely happy with Bojana's work on this movie. She nailed it.
In the previous movies, sometimes they were using other colors like dark gray, metallic olive, burgundy. We tried to do it all black. So I think showing a lot of skin and using all different textures made this black vampires interesting, kind of.
Everything has a bit of haute couture in it, but there is a modern edge to it as well. And that was just real fun. And then creating those really elaborate and sexy outfits for Samira was great too.
Marius is out there, reeking of canine insolence, plotting our downfall.
In the script, she is standing naked in front of a mirror. And while I was reading, I said, I don't think she will ever be really naked. So her robe is leather, and we did this laser cut. So she's totally exposed, but you don't see anything.
I have such a wonderful mix of materials like leather, fur, lace, and a really fun outfit is the Winter Garden party scene. It's this kind of wonderful avant-garde type dress that's just larger than life.
3, 2, 1, go.
It was very important for us to keep the iconic silhouette of Selene the same. But it's a little bit more modern, contemporary.
It's such an iconic look and such a great look that they established in the very first Underworld. So we made like little changes in the corset. We made it less elaborate, but I mean, the whole look we didn't change.
I was quite nervous how it's going to be to see her, you know, in the real flesh in front of me in a fitting. But it was a real moment because I looked at her and there was Selene. And it was like, okay, this is real. We're making this movie.
You know, it's a fairly comfortable outfit, to be honest. I mean, it's not something I would want to necessarily wear grocery shopping, but I'm pretty used to it.
We even tried to change the boots, but it doesn't work. Even Kate said, you know what, we tried on the first Underworld, we made like a 50 pair of boots and it didn't work. We found this one. Believe me, that's the one.
That concept of Selene having a more Nordic look towards the end of the movie was something I've been discussing with Kate, and I know she was very intrigued about that. And then we actually ended up having fun with it too, when Marius tries to hold on to her and all he has is the coat.
Does the great death dealer truly come in peace?
I do.
White and beige and gray and using a lot of fur. That was the base for Nordic vampires. Also there we used a lot of skin. Everything is covered with ice and snow, but they don't suffer of cold because they're vampires, so we could play with that. A lot of fur, but still bare arms, barefoot.
We're used to seeing these vampires in all black, but adding the creams and the whites which sort of go with the Nordic. I just think it's amazing, and it's pretty kick-ass, but still being a bit feminine at the same time.
When we started creating the Northern Coven and its look and the people within, we felt it's important to somehow show that a few of them have reached a level of spirituality where they can travel between those two worlds.
My eyes see beyond the surface of so many things.
It's almost like a traditional thing that if somebody is able to do a journey, that gets marked as a tattoo. The body of a vampire is known to be unmarked. So I thought it was kind of an interesting thought to have a vampire choosing to actually mark the body.
Actually, my wife found them kind of attractive, and they stick like glue, so I can keep them for a year maybe before they wear off. Make her happy.
I was actually quite aware about the challenges we had dealing with the scope of what we intended to do. But it was a great experience and really fun.
How many franchises make it to 5? You probably count on your 2 hands the number of franchises that have gotten that far, so there has to be something we're doing right here.
We've had great fortune making the Underworld films. We've traveled the world with Kate Beckinsale and Selene, and we've had so much fun making these movies.